Angle Relationships, Part 2. In today's lesson, students will use what they know about complementary and supplementary angles to find a missing angle. To find a what? Very good. So now that we've reviewed the types of angles, what are the 4 types of angles? They are, what's this? Acute, this is right, this is obtuse, and straight. Very good. Now, when you talk about 2 angles together, then 2 angles can be in a relationship. Yes, it's true. Okay? We call them angle pairs. And when we put 2 angles together, they have special names and a special relationship. So let's talk about these 2 angles for a second. All right. We have this acute angle, which we don't know what it is, it's X, and then this acute angle, which is 60 degrees. Together, okay, they form a, what is this called? A right angle, a 90-degree angle. Very good. So angles that add up to 90 degrees are called complementary. They're called what? Complementary. All right, so let's spell that. Complementary. All right, complementary just means angles that together they form a right angle. You should all know that a right angle is how many degrees? It's 90, right? So if I were to ask you to find, the missing angle, what would you need to do? What is the opposite of addition? It's subtraction, right? So in order to find out what X is, we would have to subtract from what? How many degrees is a right angle? It's how many degrees? 90 degrees. Make sure you put the degree symbol. Great. So we can set this up in an equation, which we will do, but let's see if we can do this in our head because it's simple enough, okay? What is 90 minus 60? Or think about 9 minus 6. What is that? And then put it 0 at the end. You got it? It's 30, right? So I would know that X would equal 30 degrees. I would know that. Because 30 plus 60 make 90, and together these form a right angle. Great. So let's look at another type of angle pair. And those are angles that form a line. They form a what? A line. All right? So angles that form a line are called supplementary angles. Say supplementary. Two P's. Supplementary. Okay. Supplementary angles form a line. When 2 angles form a line, they're called a linear pair. They're called a what? A linear pair. That means this angle, which is 80 degrees, and this angle, which is X, we don't know, are going to add up to what? Remember what a straight angle is? A straight angle is how many degrees? It's, what's double 90? It's 180, right? So these 2 angles together, I'm telling you that they add up to be 180 degrees. That's great. So, fine, this is an acute angle, 80 degrees. How would we find this missing angle? What are we supposed to do? What do we do here? We subtract it, okay? Remember, these are adding up. They're adding up to be 180. So what is the opposite of addition? It's subtraction. So to find the missing angle, that's what we're talking about. Subtract from what? How many degrees makes a line? 180 degrees. Such an important number, okay? Because a line is 180 degrees. So now that we know that, let's think about it. how are we going to figure out what x is? What do we have to do? We have to subtract 80 from 180. So 180, take away 80 is what? It's 100. Very good. So this is 100 degrees. That makes sense. This is an obtuse angle. Yeah, greater than 90. 100 plus 80 is 180 degrees. So go ahead and get that down. So let's see how we could set up an equation to solve for the missing angle of this angle pair for number 1, okay? The first thing you're going to ask yourself when you're looking at these angles is, do the angles, do they look like they add up to be a right angle, which is 90 degrees? What's a right angle? 90 degrees? Or do they form a line? And a line is how many degrees? 180. So let's take a look. What does this look like? What does it form? It forms a line. We call this a linear pair. A linear pair by definition adds up to be 180. We call these supplementary angles. We call them what? Very good. So to set up an equation, we're just going to take x and we're going to add 154 degrees. What is it going to equal to? What is it going to equal to? 180 degrees. Excellent. So to solve for x, all we have to do is make a t, right? And actually solve this equation by doing the opposite of addition. What's the opposite of addition? It's subtraction. So make a t, make sure you make enough space, okay? Now I'm going to ask you, what is the opposite of positive 154? It's negative 154 degrees, both sides, okay? Great. A positive 154 and a negative 154 makes 0. I want you to bring down the x. And x is going to equal, now I know this looks like division because of this little line. I'm just going to erase the line for a second so you can see. What we're really talking about is subtraction, right? So in the calculator, you can put 180 minus 154, okay, take away. And how many degrees do you get here? You get what? You get 26 degrees, okay, 26 degrees. So I want you to take this answer, go back over to the angle pair, and now let's write 26 degrees. That means that this angle, 26 degrees plus 154, together, since they make a line, form 180 degrees. This being an acute angle, this being an obtuse angle. Now let's take a look at number 2. So to set up an equation to find the missing angle, first we ask ourselves, do these angles add up to be 90 degrees, which is a right angle, or 180 degrees, which is a line? What do you think? What does this symbol tell you? It's a right angle. A right angle is how many degrees? 90. So we're going to go ahead and start with 34 this time. So 34 degrees plus some unknown angle is going to give us how many degrees? 90 degrees. Excellent. Okay, so we're looking for x. When we make a t, make sure that the t goes through the equal signs and make some space. Are we good? All right. So now tell me, what is, if we're looking for x, we have to do the opposite of positive 34. Remember, these degrees are always going to be positive, okay? These rotations we're working with are always positive. So what's the opposite of positive 34? It's negative 34 degrees. So we're going to subtract negative 34 degrees from both sides. Awesome. Negative 34 degrees and positive 34 degrees makes 0. Bring down the x. All right. So here, what you need to do, remember, is subtraction. So in your calculator, you can put 90 minus 34. And what do you get? How many degrees? You get 56 degrees. So this is subtraction. This is subtraction. So you can go back over here and say, all right, the unknown angle was 56 degrees. That means if you add 56 and 34 together, they should give you 90 degrees. And I'm going to just show you that it happens right here. So if I added these together, 4 plus 6 is 10, carry the 1. 5 plus 3 plus 1 more is 90, okay? So it proves, yes, they do add up to be a right angle. Now let's take a look at number 3. What do these two angles add up to be? 90 degrees or 180? 180 degrees, right? Do you see that it is still a line, even though now the line has a little bit of a slope to it that's positive? Yeah? That's still a line, just like you've learned about. So when we take these two angles and we add them up together, how many degrees is it going to equal? A line is what? 180 degrees. Very good. So you're going to take x plus 93, okay, degrees. It's going to equal 180 degrees. Perfect. So 93 is what kind of angle? It's an obtuse angle. It's slightly larger than 90. It's almost 90, but it's bigger. So what do you have to do to both sides? Sorry. What are you going to make first? You're going to make a T. And make sure that the T goes through the equal sign. Great. So positive 93, what is the opposite of that? We're looking for exits. Negative 93 degrees, both sides. Excellent. Negative 93 degrees. Okay, now the degrees, just to make sure you don't have to enter those in the calculator. We're just writing it to show that these are degrees. So positive 93 and negative 93 make 0. We're going to bring down the x right here. And what is 180 minus 93? 180 minus 93 degrees is 87 degrees. So we're going to write that this is 87 degrees, meaning that if you took 87 plus 93, they would equal 180. Go ahead and get that down. So number 4 is a little bit different because we see that the angle is flipped upside down. However, what do these two angles add up to be? What does it look? What do you see here? You see a right angle, right? So you have 54 and x, all right? Those are going to add up to be how many degrees? 90. So we're going to take 54 plus x would be 90 degrees. Don't forget your degree symbols. So first we're going to make a what? Make a T. What is the opposite of positive 54 degrees? It's negative 54 degrees. Excellent. So subtract 54 degrees from both sides. Positive 54 and a negative 54 makes 0. Bring down the x. And then in the calculator, let's do 90 minus 54. What is 90 minus 54? It's what? 36 degrees. Great. Which means that 54 plus 36 degrees would add up to be 90. So don't get confused, even if the angles are flipped around, as long as you see that box, it indicates that those two angles would be complementary or add up to 90. Go ahead and get that down.